Aloha! Welcome, beautiful souls, to the Infinite Cup podcast. I'm your host, Robert Breton. It's been a while. Really excited to have a new episode for you guys. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for everything. I appreciate all the love and support. Had a big move, a big transition here to Hawaii, and it just feels amazing to be in this tropical paradise and be living my dream and be able to share all this amazing knowledge with all of you beautiful souls. And today I have Jack from TripWhip. We really connected and talked all things about spirituality, plant medicines, going down deep into that rabbit hole. We really talked about all kinds of stuff that I know you guys are going to love. So if you're new to this and you're just into plant medicine and this is all new to you, you're going to learn something great and how you can use this as a transformative healing experience. If you are a fellow, entrepreneur, a fellow astronaut into these cosmic realms, then you are going to love this even more, because we really got deep into how to create these releases naturally, how to enter alternate dimensions, how to get into access to these celestial beings, you name it, entering that love, that 5D consciousness. We really talked about all kinds of good stuff here. So thank you so much for being here. First of all, really want to say that from the bottom of my heart. Have sincere gratitude for everybody listening and watching on YouTube. Really appreciate your support. If you want to take it the next step further by leaving a review on Amazon, that really helps increase the rankings of this podcast so we can get more people to join this conscious community and uplift this high vibe right here on planet Earth. And just, again, thank you for being here. Really excited to present this podcast with Jack from TripWhip. So without any further ado, here's Jack and I having a great conversation, going down the rabbit hole, baby.
I think it is, because I can hear you. There it goes. I think it just refreshed. All right, cool. Wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah, hopefully this doesn't lag out. Yeah, we're good. We're good. We should be no more technical difficulties.
So
I was just saying, watching your stuff, talking about just like we were talking about the evolution of the soul a little bit. That's all. Just how the journey within that we are all on, and how we all kind of walk a different path as far as maybe the direction that is, and then we kind of intertwine in different parts along the way, right? Whatever that might be for some, and plant medicines, things. The spiritual journey can be just whatever you make it. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. So it's just beautiful seeing, for me, this kind of evolution of technology to kind of that's, to me, the only thing that's different is now it's kind of being broadcasted, right, all over the world, where before it was kind of just this small ritualistic thing, or just kind of only in the community or small tribe. So that's kind of the interesting perspective. But for people that just don't know you, or just a little introduction for yourself, something little story or something to kind of get people that somebody's never heard about you or something, just to kind of introduce yourself a little bit, and we'll just go from there, brother.
Sure, cool. Well, thank you for having me on your channel, man. I'm super excited for this. I got a lot of questions as well.
Feel free. This is going to be back and forth for sure.
Sure. So I'm TripWhip. My real name's Jack, and basically my channel is almost all to do with psychedelics, but like I started the channel when I was still kind of really heavy in psychedelic use, and so now I'm kind of like, well, I got lots of trip reports on there, and I like to try and like dive into like what I'm actually experiencing and talk about that, because there's not a whole bunch of that on YouTube, I found. But still, like these days, I'm kind of also doing a lot of sober integration, and like I work at a float center. So it's like there are a lot of people who are ex-psychedelic users who are now just heavy into sensory deprivation tanks and Arjun light sessions, meditation. So obviously I've been transforming it that way as well, but I still use all this to like integrate what I learned from psychedelics. And so it's still a lot of talking about what is in this realm, what is that realm, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. That's what my channel's kind of about.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. No, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Do you mind actually doing an intro as well? If I
No, not at all. Yeah.
Cool.
My name is Robert with the Infinite Cup. This is a similar journey that I've had as well. For me, it's kind of merging health and wellness with spirituality, because we kind of need to look at this as far as like the whole package. I know a lot of people, from my experience, that are just covered on one end, like they're really spiritual or they're really healthy, and it kind of we need to do this from a holistic approach. So that's kind of what I'm bringing to the table, is kind of merging the two together and looking at it from all angles of life with our physical, emotional, and spiritual spiritual health as well. So it's been an exciting journey for me, and I'm a certified yoga teacher now. I teach meditation, and YouTube and technology has been fun, embracing all of this for the last couple of years and moving to more of a digital life. And the end goal is here to build like a retreat center and offer experiences through health and wellness and detoxing and doing the guided meditations and everything kind of in person. So it's been a fun evolution, and I'm just excited to embrace this golden age we're in, man.
Hell yeah, man. That's pretty cool, Joe. Go.
It's all about living in the heart, and really anchoring in this new consciousness that we're all tapping into. Like you said, through any way, I look at all of this as just a different medium, and how are we getting there? It's kind of like everyone's doing it, whether they're conscious of it or not, kind of doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, this is all our kind of evolution of the soul that we are on this journey together, and it's just exciting. So I love sharing techniques, meditations, frequencies. For me, being with yoga, I kind of went down that rabbit hole the most, and that's what I resonate with the most as far as like the ancient Sanskrit and the yogis, and they had it all figured out thousands of years ago, so there's really no need to like complicate it anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
All these realms, all these dimensions, everything that we can talk about in just different languages and different vocabulary to wrap it up. Quantum physics probably has the best job right now as far really getting down to science and whatnot, but it just doesn't matter. Whatever language resonates with you and whatever floats your boat, that's your path, for truth and transformation. So I don't have any judgments. I just want to share the light, and spread the light to everybody. And that's what we're all doing at the end of the day.
I think it's a really positive goal, because like it's not only the people who are taking psychedelics now or who are trying to like pursue a spiritual goal or who have had like hippie parents or something like that. It's like people who are like getting set up in VR. Like I'll hop into VR and I'll be on there for like an hour, come out of it, and I'll be like, oh, like I'm pretty sure this is VR I'm in right now. It's like it's doing some sort of rewiring to us, whether or not we're conscious of it. And so, like as technology emerges, as psychedelics become more popular, as more spiritual teachings become more spread around the world, everyone's kind of going onto this like more detached from our physical body, more detached from our sensory experience. But we need guidance as to how to get to the right place, at least I think, into this, like on which spiritual plane we kind of like channel into. Because there is a lot of negativity as well out there from people who hit the psychedelics hard or have been like, who are afraid to meditate and things like that.
Yes.
It's, like I don't
There's a lot of fear.
Yeah, tons of fear. And like I've had a couple of dark experiences. I've had some very dark experiences in the beginning of my journey, but ever since that beginning, I've only had a couple of dark ones, but they've never been powerful enough to influence me. So it's like I've had a couple of people asking me, like, how do you go from like a dark place and then come to a positive one? And I give them my best advice, but I don't actually have that personal experience.
It's all a personal experience, like you said. I mean, that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's like that saying, you got to lead the horse to water, but they can only drink. It's the same thing. And that's what we're all doing through our experiences now. I think that's the key word as far as the takeaway from that, because right now I think people are just tired of, we live in a world that's like overloaded with information. There's too many options and there's so many things available. And at the end of the day, that experiential learning is going to be the key to keep you on that path, whatever it might be. For me, the way I look at it, that evolution, like that, we have similar paths as far as that, because it's at the end of the day, you get tired of the roller coaster, right? These ups and downs and these waves, and it's kind of you kind of see where that potential is. You see where the end results only can take you, and you want to go deeper. And that's where meditation and things come in, because it's all about learning to do this naturally and achieving these states. Because to me, it's like a regular thing. Like that's our real state, like abundance, wealth, happiness, all of these things is kind of just the core. And it's those programs and self-limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves that are just keeping us, locked up in our own little bubble. And these experience, whether it's psychedelics or anything, any form of, for me, I've had way more intense, anything that you can imagine completely sober. And I've, tried everything in the book, and it's because of the awareness, that you can bring with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because anybody can kind of go on these, trips and have this big expansion, but at the end of the day, you got to circulate that energy back to planet Earth and share it with everybody, so we can all grow. That's kind of the mission.
I've having this thing where it's like recently I've been because I still trip every now and then, and it's mostly for TripWhip itself when I'm like tripping.
Yeah.
And I noticed like I'll be like smoking weed and I have meditation, and it's just a full on experience. Like it's absolutely full on. Like I put the music in, and next thing I'm going into like crazy realms, meeting entities, and it's like I come out of it and I'm just like shaking, and I'm like, like this feels like DMT I just had. And it's, and yeah, I think it's like I wonder to myself, if like I am just if my mind's open and I'm experiencing more and new things, or if because I'm aware of more stuff, if I'm just remembering more when I come out of it. And I'm still trying to work that out because I don't know, but it's like
it's both. I'd say it's both for sure.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's like your experience of it is pretty much what you remember of it.
Yeah.
It's like you can't really separate those two things. And so it's like, it's like, because there's a lot of gaps in my DMT trips, and there's like a lot of gaps in a lot of trips I've had where I'm like, I've probably like, I've just been totally unconscious, but actually was experiencing all this sort of stuff. So it definitely stands for reason that like you can absolutely have these experiences sober. I personally haven't. That's the thing, and it's like I really want to. I've had some very deep experiences on in the tanks, but I think I've forgotten. Like it's like this thing. I think I've just come out.
I mean, we can, don't have to get too scientific or anything, but the point is that DMT is within us, right? It's in the pineal gland. It's every single human being experiences when they sleep, right? When you dream. So that's why I said it's kind of all this stuff to me is very natural, and this is just happening. That's like our true state, and then it's all these layers, those conditionings and programs, right? So at the end of the day, like if you want to experience this naturally through anything, like the most common that I've experienced is like through fasting, right? You just deplete yourself from food and then go on liquid. And if you do that for extended periods of time, depending on the person, you're going to start basically getting into this higher energy, and you're going to be able to get the kundalini and everything flowing a lot easier, much, faster than you would if you had a bunch of like heavy, solid food objects that are kind of pulling you down. So there's that way. The other way is staying up. If you haven't done that, I highly recommend that. My record in Alaska is 3 days, just to throw out sober 3 days. And that third day, man, it's like, there's so much, DMT in your brain because, the body doesn't know the difference between day or night at that point. So it's all just one thing. And it's like, it's very psychedelic to say the least. So it's not something that I would recommend. I'm just saying when you understand the human body and what you're doing through, all you're doing is activating, right? What's already within you. You're creating a chemical reaction in your brain, and it's just kind of a response happening. So like I said, for me, once you kind of get it, it's like there's a limit there because you can only excrete so much. You can only produce so much based on your health, based on your state of your actual body, your temple. So you kind of you hit a wall every time basically, and you always will, because that's kind of our human conditioning to kind of keep us, just like those gaps that you're talking about. It's like those gaps are supposed to be there because it's something that we have to remember how to do, like naturally. Like this is our innate ability, and it's always going to be temporary, to put it shortly, right? It's always going to be a temporary experience. So the goal here is to kind of do it long term, like something like I said that you can take back, and it's really penetrating all of those layers, all of those realms together. So that's what's happening, right? It doesn't matter which one. You're just tapped in, like to 3D right now. We're doing this, but all of the elves, all of the beings, whatever you want to talk about is happening right now around us. So it's something that's just 24/7, whether you realize it or not, doesn't matter. The thing is, you and I both, we've opened ourselves up to it, and that's the thing is you can't go back from that. So once you've exposed yourself to these other realms and you popped in, we just have very curious brains as human beings, and you're never gonna, look at TV the same again or watch, whatever program or game you're into, because this expansive shift has happened. So it's exciting. It's exciting for me. At the end of the day, like I said, how can you use this for a tool for truth and transformation? Because is it like really helping your life? Is it gaining in your workplace or your family life or your romantic life, whatever is it? Can you channel this into something, into love and productivity? Because at the end of the day, it's very selfish and greedy if you're just doing it to get high. You know what I mean? And that's what I see a lot of these days. That's all. And don't get me wrong, I was doing that too. It's no judgment. I'm just talking about at the end of the day, these are tools, right? And we need to use them like tools, just like yoga or meditation or anything else. It's a tool.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like I hate using the word placebo effects, but it's almost like whatever you're going, the intent behind it is it will work, it will function in that way. Because weed for me used to be just like a feel good high. It was like my day sober, crap, can't wait to get home, just open up that bong, rip one, and then feel good. And eventually, I think I actually went on holiday for like 2 weeks, came back, and I was just so excited to come back and like smoke some weed. It's crazy. But like what I didn't realize is during that 2 weeks, I was being so productive, and I was doing all these things like being creative and stuff that I thought I used weed for, but wasn't actually. Got back, smoked that weed, and it was very intense. And like I actually like had a meditation for the first time on it, I think, and it was way more intense than I was expecting. But I was like, this isn't euphoric anymore, and I couldn't trick myself into thinking, it was something else. It was just I realized then what it had become, and so then I started using it spiritually, and it was like, okay, once a month, let's do this, because unlike acid, it doesn't last for like 8 hours, and that was a very intense high. So it's like, okay, once a month, let's smoke weed, and let's meditate, and let's do what we used to do for the psychedelics, because I used to fast when I was coming up to trip, I'd fast, I wouldn't smoke weed for like 4 days. I just kind of really make a thing of it, like a really spiritual thing. Yeah. So I had like psychedelics and then weed, but then I introduced weed into the bunch, and it's obviously, as I was saying before, it's blasted off like crazy. Yeah. I'm like the last 4 videos I've made, I think, have just been on my weed trip. Yeah, it's bonkers. But I was going to ask you, so I was curious about your psychedelic trips, and like more specifically your most intense psychedelic trip, and then. When you started doing things sober, like how did you bring that over to your sober reality?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, let's see, there was definitely one profound trip that kind of threw me over the edge, as they say, and I really took it to, I like the word, I don't really like the word psychonaut, but that's kind of the word for it at the end of the day, these pioneers, these, space cadets, as you wish, and I definitely was in that realm and had so much fun. And I think that for me, that's my personality, kind of really pushing it as far as I totally could. And I just remember one night, and it's all about the times too, that I was in my apartment, and there's just this one night where we took a very high dose of psilocybin. It was probably at least 4 grams. It wasn't counted out or anything, but it was a really nice dose that we all basically should just, enjoy a nice gathering and then split everything up. And then at the end of the day, the only reason why this was more intense is because at the end of the day, I went into my apartment, found my room, and there was some MDMA there, and there were some other things happening. And all of a sudden, I was the only one who got into this stash, and then before you know it, I was on a whole nother level than everybody else. And I kind of drifted off into this other space by myself. And everyone else, I think there's 4 of us total there, and we were all together in our apartment. But at the end of the day, like I said, I went to this other place, and that's when I fully penetrated what's the veil, were just complete white light, and it wasn't beyond any. The only analogy that I like to give people, and I wrote it down in a journal a long time ago, is it's like waves, right? Waves are happening. And the smaller the dose, the farther the waves are. It's like really intense, right? And then it calms down, right? These waves, woo, and then it calms down. And then the waves will get closer and closer together the more and more you take, meaning you're basically fully immersed in this woo, and then it stays there for maybe 10, 20 minutes, and then it's coming back down. So the goal I'm getting to is, at that point, there were no more waves, right? You're just into that full wave, and there was full immersion, and I was there for, it's once you get into these astral realms, and we can talk about, which dimensions they were and what entities are on them and all that fun stuff. But for me, the point I'm getting at is once you have that full breakthrough, right? Whatever that is for anybody, the full breakthrough of like, I'm no longer this body. I'm no longer my thoughts. I am no longer who I thought I was, the personality, all of those things. That's to me, that was that experience, because I dabbled before and loved it and been doing it for a long time through college and whatnot. But that was the night, like I said, where I just found the stash I'll never forget. And I was so excited, and I just took it, and I was like, oh my God, here we go. And that was the full immersion. So for me, and let's see, I'm 31. So that was probably 10 plus years. 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. 21.
Yeah, and I was 21. Yep. And I had that apartment for 2 years. That was like the psychedelic phase for me. This 2 years where I had a lease on my apartment, where I was finally out of my parents' house, and we just all had a little bachelor pad and just really, took it to that level. It was amazing, and I learned so much. And like I said, at the end of the day, that wall you hit, and you're going to end up this roller coaster effect where you're just basically tired of the ups and downs, and that was my sincere, yearning. Like, hey, I'm tired of this roller coaster of emotions and all these things happen. I just want to get there stable and just meditate and be one with it without any like static in between, if that makes sense.
When you say the roller coaster, you mean like when you're high, and then when you're sober, you're low.
Yes, exactly. A lot of these states were beautiful. Like after that one, I was depressed for like 3 days afterwards. You know what I mean? Because, and like I said, we can talk about the science with the chemicals. Obviously, the serotonin and things that you're producing, you just turning that valve, to 11, and your body is just really, operating at high intensity. So at some point you got to come back down. And that's what I understood after doing this many, many times. And a lot of my friends kept going and pushing it even further and further. But I chose a different path because of what I saw that night, basically. And I tried to explain it to people, but it's really hard to explain in words even. It's beyond human comprehension. It's really whatever your belief system is and whatever your programming is as far as what creates that experience. So it's fully transcendental for everybody. It's just their clarity and consciousness depends on their karma and what level of willpower they have. Basically, that's really what it comes down to. Because a lot of people are simply afraid, right? That's what it is at the end of the day. I was extremely afraid, and it's only until you go through that doorway to where you fully open up into this new person. So it was amazing. And I started doing yoga and meditation, and I took a yoga and meditation class at college 4 semesters in a row. I just loved it. I ended up getting certified as a yoga teacher and just kept going, but I never really wanted to teach or anything. This was just my own path. I was living off the grid, traveling a lot in my on my bicycle long distance, and then I had a Volkswagen bus for a while that I traveled in, just different things. And I was really off the grid all the way, basically doing this in nature. Like I realized the farther I can get into nature and the deeper I can get into nature, the more clear I can get and the more information I can receive, right? As you get through these layers, I'm what's called like an empath, right, or something. You get this big energy shift and this kundalini awakening happens, and all of a sudden I get very sensitive, to other people, their energies. Like a lot of the things that people can do on psychedelics, I don't need them for at all. I can tap into that at any point, and you're just there. It's like a channel on a remote, So it's something that you can. I think these are all just doorways that people need to perceive that first, because we live in a very I got to see it with my 2 eyes kind of world right now. But at the end of the day, that's temporary, like I said, and you'll get tired of that at some point. You just will. That's human evolution, because we're not this body. We're not. It's just a very temporary experience. And I've, left this earth many times sober and, unintentionally and intentionally. And I've come in contact with things that are way more powerful than any human being I've ever experienced. And so many powerful things that I couldn't even describe to you in words, And it's something that, for me, the only thread that I can get through with this is, yoga, scripture, these words, like these beings, these, the rishis, when I was living in temples, living in the ashram, that's what drove me to just doing this more in a pure way, because a lot of these beings are living that 24/7 in these meditative states, and there's no side effects, basically, right? Because at the end of the day, you're just going to ruin your physical body, you're going to fry your nerves, and it's not sustainable. So you can do all of this naturally in a way that preserves your nerves and actually increases your awareness and increases your intelligence. I honestly did damage that I probably, and it wasn't through psilocybin, but through chemical. There was a lot of MDMA and just different pills and things that were not the best that I'm sure I took back in the day, that were just not good. And again, that's where my friends were and everybody were going that direction, and I just had to back out.
See, I think it's a lot of people obviously want to journey through the spiritual side of reality, but they're not going to probably not going to have the time for the sober integration of it. And I think psychedelic use is okay as long as you're using it responsibly. And responsibly gets thrown around a lot, but I mean, seriously, psychedelics have the capacity to be so powerful that to be responsible with it, you have to respect the mother F out of them.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And it's like, if you don't respect them, boy, they will punish you. they'll punish you like you've never been punished before.
And I'm all for it. At the end of the day, I understand that power at B, and I'm just this puzzle in this whole game, the pieces are coming together. So it's exciting when I think about that, because like I said, at the end of the day, I just understand karma and I understand these laws that we're just bound to with each dimension, and we just have to do our part, like our inner work, as it's called, right? And that's what you're doing. And it has nothing to do with me. I'm going to love everybody. And that's what I want to do, and just be here to shine light, and that's it. At the end of the day, if people don't get that, it's cool. It's all good. It's fine with me. It's something because I understand that evolution of the soul. I really get it, and it's something that that's what we're doing. Like I said, so the more you can tap into that soul, that thing that's always going to be with you no matter what can you transfer to this next life, or if you even want a next life, maybe you want to be done right now and just be fully realized. That's the potential. I'm ready for that. So that's not a lot of people talk about that. You know what I mean? Because it's something that these teachers, we don't have to get into religion or spirituality or anything, but that's what we're all doing. At the end of the day, and we feel it. And it's funny because what we're talking about is just this general consciousness as far as the awakening, just on the planet, like everybody. It's this ascension process that's happening. So it doesn't matter what vehicle it is. It's definitely like this, big surgence of energy happening right now. So you can tap into it.
Yeah, there are different paths for everyone, and I think the path, the end goal is probably the same. Obviously, the path's going to be different. I think that's what I wanted TripWhip to be about, because there are a lot of, like, obviously it's not that I'm like pro or negative psychedelic use. It's just that, like, I hit psychedelics hard at one point and had a lot of ups, had a lot of downs. For a period there, was definitely dependent on them for feeling good. Like, I just didn't. It's not that I, all of a sudden became addicted to them. It was that before I started taking them, my life wasn't at a high vibration, and then all of a sudden you're there. But the problem was then my sober reality was even lower vibration. So it was really about learning what's up with these things. But I did hear you before say that you might have some mental damage from it already.
And that was so we're on the record, I would say anything natural is like good. You know what I mean?
Right.
From this earth, God created it for us, Krishna, the universe, whatever word you want to use. I totally believe in anything that is from the earth. When we get into chemicals and synthetic things and man-made things, that's where you can get iffy, because at the end of the day, we have those 5 chemicals in our body. What you're talking about is depleted dopamine, and a lot of that dopamine, that's why we're depressed. So it's like life is literally not even stimulating. It doesn't, there'd be naked women, all the food you can want. It doesn't even matter. You're not even going to be excited about it because you don't have the chemicals in your brain. See what I mean? And that's what I mean by the roller coaster. So at the end of the day, it's hard to you have to produce them, and it's like a release that happens. Same with DMT. It's not like you get extra every day if you do special practices or something. Your body can only produce, let's say, 10 every day, and a lot of people are not hitting that mark because of whatever it is, like cigarettes or alcohol. You know what I mean? Like we live in such an addicted state as the common standard American, where people basically, it's hard to reach these higher states of consciousness. That's why we have such a like you describe it like this, I feel great, and that's like the only thing you can attach yourself to, when in reality we can feel great all the time. That's our real potential. It's just the other programs that you are unveiling. And that's why you'll notice too, in the beginning, it's always like you mentioned earlier with the darkest times, your experiences that you've been through, and especially in the beginning, those are your old karmas. That's your past seeds. You got to burn that stuff out. That's what's happening. They're impurities, you see. And you have clarity, and your energy is more vibrant now because you've burned off these impurities. It's all it's all the same thing. So that's what we're talking about. So to me, it's like the more you can do this consciously, right, with your actions, with your diet, lifestyle, whatever you're doing, the more higher consciousness, higher information you're going to receive. That's what it is at the end of the day.
It's funny because, like, I think there's very little known about our relationship with serotonin, dopamine, things like that. Myself, I used to have, I would never feel depleted after a trip. I'd have like a very like positive glow after like an acid trip or something like that. And I think we kind of create relationships, and this is going back into that placebo effect thing. It's like I hear a lot of people describe the come up of LSD as this very like synthetic feeling, but I'm like, what does synthetic actually mean? I think that what happens is people have a relationship before they take the acid. They say this is a synthetic drug, So as they're coming up and they're feeling something altogether new, their brain kind of like has to quickly process what this feeling is. And so its analysis bonds to what it already knows. This is a synthetic drug. This is a synthetic experience. Yeah. And so often the time when we're coming down, we might feel low in like energetic levels because of the depletion of dopamine or serotonin. Yes. But then science kind of like relates our happiness to these neurotransmitters for some reason, because in my experience, they are not linked to them in a very intense way. It's definitely measures my energy levels, but not my actual happiness. And so a lot of people are like, I'm low in energy, I'm low on these neurotransmitters, that means I'm sad now. But even this itself might be a placebo effect, because like there is this afterglow of like, I just experienced something insane, which I thought was just beyond what I comprehended before. Yes. I'm totally humbled. And now my goal is just to integrate this.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. I mean, that's the number one overlooked step right there, is the integration. You know, you have this huge expansion, you need to integrate, and then a lot of people get stuck in the next phase, the last phase, which is stagnant, right? You get too stagnant, you get bored, and that's when you need to circulate new energy. But just real quick, when you say synthetic, what I interpret that is when you go into the chemical realm, it's what happens is these chemicals in our brains can get produced higher than what they could do naturally, right? So that's basically, it's like information overload, you know, for the brain. And if it's, in my opinion, in my experience through these chemical ways, it can be, you know, too much information to process basically. And that's why those gaps are there, you know, and instead nature intended it this way, and it's very easy, and it's kind of not as, that release isn't going to be as intense because nature kind of puts a cap on it, let's say at 10, whereas a man-made thing could take it all the way to 20 because it was made in a lab sort of thing. So, and that's just, I'm not saying they're all like that. I have no idea, especially nowadays. I'm just saying at the end of the day, we can do anything in the lab and create that chemical reaction in our brain, but nature is very it's a different chemical reaction as far as what the potential is. So if in my mind, like you could take 100 grams of this thing from nature and it's going to be way safer than 1 gram of this. That's what I would say, because those things that you can do through nature, it's like more of a just natural experience. I don't know what other word to use, because at least for me too, because when I got into the chemical things, it's wonderful. I understand it. It's just at the end of the day, I trust nature. I mean, that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say more than anything. Like, I just love nature. I love the universe. I love this earth. And at the end of the day, I trust that. Like, no matter what, I really do. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, the darkest thing for me, if it's natural and nature, it's all good. Yeah.
I think like trust is so important as well when you go into any psychedelic trip. Because I've noticed so my bad experiences came from my first experiences, which was synthetic weed, a terrible drug, horrible drug. And it actually, the first time I did it, somebody gave it to me pretending it was normal weed, smoked this big cone, and the next thing I was like, well, this is clearly not. I'm being blasted off into like this disgusting dimension. But I noticed as well, it was for me, the drugs that could kill you were the ones where I was having bad experiences on.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it was because the moral intent behind taking this drug. It was like, do I not care about my life enough that I'm prepared to put it on the line to have this experience? You manifest that karma instantly when you take a psychedelic of any kind. So it's like when I was taking, because mushrooms have punished me. I've been punished by mushrooms pretty hard, but they actually did it in a really helpful way.
It's like a pillow fight. Yeah, exactly. Oh,
it's a pillow fight. It wasn't gentle. It was savage. but it was still like, because basically I was getting I'm not a suicidal person or anything like that. Then I was on these mushrooms, and for the first time I was like, I just want to die. Like this sucks. And then I was like rocking back and forth, and and then I had this thought where I was like, look, you have the power to turn this into a good trip. So I was like, really? I was like, okay, I'll try. So I was really trying, left my room, kept trying. And the next thing I got a message from my friend who was like, yo, man, I'm in the hospital, just try to kill myself. And I'd actually wronged this friend like a month earlier, like really in a bad way. But I never apologized, never addressed it, just kind of hit it down. And in that second, I just apologized, just confessed my heart. And the bad trip just stopped instantly. It was like a curse had been lifted. And I was like, wow. So I know for sure the mind plays a big role into it. But so does these elements like trust and stuff like that. Because I've always trusted things like LSD and DMT, which have technically been synthesized in one way or another.
Sure.
But because of the extremely, pretty much nil risk, once you've tested, of course, nil risk of it being lethal, it didn't have that same negative vibe to it that some of these other drugs that I tried in my earlier years had. And so I trusted the experience entirely, and it was always a beautiful, life-changing, guiding, gentle experience. So I think the emotions going into these things as well plays a big role. And
everything.
Are the go-to, because you can trust them. They're not going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what's safe, effective, and that's what's being legalized all over the country here in the States. There's a lot of resurgence of that. Finally, the science and things are coming out. PTSD, you name it, you can all. We're living in a world that's very synthetic through pharmaceuticals, and people are tired of that. They know that it's toxic. They know it's not serving them anymore, and it's big. Yeah. It's been a big shift of that's what we're doing right now, even as we speak. That's my intention, is to kind of demystify a lot of this stuff and bring it to a practical level for everybody, where we can stop talking about it like some crazy thing and actually use it to heal, use it for transformation. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. For me, when I was your age, partying and doing stuff, not to say you're doing that right now, I'm just saying when I was partying hard and stuff like that and having these really psychedelic experiences, I was healing on so many emotional levels and so many levels I couldn't even describe yet. It was those times where it's like, party's going, yourself by yourself, you're just going through these waves.
I can't hear you. The microphone's getting really staticky.
Oh, it's okay.
It's just stopped. It's good. It's good.
Okay,
cool. It was just going off. A little trippy there.
No worries. I'm just talking about how the healing. So much healing happened, even though my intentions weren't there. It was just to have fun, right? So at the end of the day, I believe in the healing that's happening right now through this medicine, through all these techniques. And like I said, the more we can do it consciously, like for me, it's yoga and meditation, and how I can do this consciously and really do this in a place that I can bring back information and channel this energy into this, through third dimension Earth, where we can really learn from this. And that's what we're all doing as a collective, is getting rid of those beliefs that aren't serving us, and the programs that are limiting, and lower vibrational stuff is going higher and higher, and this is infinite until we all completely disintegrate our form. So it's happening. It's just like I said, this trail to the top of the mountain that we're all on. Which angle you look at it doesn't really matter. How can we all just get there together? That's what it comes down to. So it's been fun looking back, to be honest. It's something that like these transformational experiences can happen, or it could be the opposite. And to me, it's based on, like you said, the emotions and what's happening through your mind. It's not until, to be honest, for me, a lot of people haven't really experienced the full transcendence of their mind. I think that's what it is. A lot of the stuff that, like what you were describing, I would say is the mind still controlling the game. And it's not until we fully get through that to where you have these real, just, oh my gosh, experience that you come back and it's nothing but love and nothing but peace and nothing but just you. That's all you can think about, basically, because you're so grateful is what I can think of. That's the only emotions and words I can think of. And I've had smaller doses of it, but a lot of people, when I talk about this stuff, I feel like haven't had that full breakthrough through the mind. And again, could happen through meditation, yoga. I've seen it spontaneously in people in yoga class. I've seen it in different ways all over the planet and different sessions. Like I said earlier, with my party days and stuff, I definitely had these ecstatic moments where you kind of got rid of the noise and everything, and then you just pierce through that veil, and it might seem like 5 minutes here, but it feels like months, if not years. You know what I mean? Because that's the thing. You got to remember, the 3D has the time and the space and gravity and all that, but we're just sailing through that, and that's where time, none of that stuff matters anymore. So it's very you can't really interpret it that way. You just have to kind of understand the laws and then learn how to do this effectively. That doesn't, like we're talking about the float tanks, that's awesome. You work at the float center because you're doing sense deprivation, to just remove all these distractions in our life. That's basically all you need to do. Like we said, the elves, everybody, every angel, whatever you want to think about, is right around us right now. So how can you really learn from them and get more love and energy from them?
Yeah, the message, I think, it is the same, and it seems to be love. as cheesy as it sounds, I hate saying it. I'm like, God dang it, but it's just the truth.
Well, I like to say unconditional love. I like to add that to it, because you're right. Love is too cheesy. I like to. I'm not correcting you. Sorry, I'm not correcting you at all. I'm just saying the only. I have to clarify, because I was right there with you, and I have so many books and different things for myself that I've written back from different experiences and different things. At the end of the day, that's it. And it's so simple. And the unconditional love thing is, we can all look back, whether it was relationships or whatever. It's like that was still a programmed love that still wasn't serving your highest self. So that's what this is doing, whether it's psychedelics or what, fasting, who cares? You're shedding those layers, you're purifying yourself. And to me, that's what I'm here to do, because I understand my karma. I understand what I've done, in this life and past lives. That's what I'm here to do. So I don't have any, time for anything less than that, because I understand like the miracle that it is just to have this body, just to be able to do this. Like you know just as much as I do, those beings, those entities, and what I like to call celestial beings in these different dimensions. They wish they had a body. They're like jealous that we have a flesh suit, because we are the only ones that are multi-dimensional. They're basically stuck in these realms, and they're trapped, and they see us pierce through, and they're like, oh my God, I want to be this guy. Let's go talk to him, whatever, That's exactly what's happening. And here we are just wishing we can be in some other dimension or have some out of body experience, when really the magic is right here in front of us. And this earth is literally created just for that. And we're freaking trashing it and doing all these horrible things in many ways, right? That's the collective that I'm talking about, as far as really shedding these layers. And it's happening one after another until we fully get it.
Yeah, it's so sincerely a game that you're playing with yourself. And it's like, we get so caught up in this game, we start hating it, and we start feeling trapped within it, and we want to escape it. But we think it's like we literally invented this game for ourselves. Like that's what I feel like this white light experience is. Your mushroom program sounds very similar to my DMT experience. Yeah. And it's like you go back to that base source, and then reality creates itself again before your eyes. And every little aspect of it is your own creation. You are that source thing. So it's really a shame that we get caught up in it. But I guess sometimes you need to like peer outside just to see what's going on a little bit again, come back in and have some fun,
There's no judgment. Like I said, I went back and forth a lot of time. I mean, people, like I said, those friends, that group that I was in, they kept going, and I saw a lot of damage physically. Otherwise, I would have kept going with them. So at the end of the day, I saw that wall, and I was like, guys, I just can't do this. I signed up for a yoga class, started meditating. I didn't even know what I was doing the first couple of years. I just knew it was awakening me on a deeper level, and I just stuck with it. And that's just my personality, and I just have that tendency to really stick with things that elevate me. And it was very simple and pure. And now I'm just so thankful, because that's my anchor, And when you really understand the yogic way, that's what, you do in the morning. You meditate, you leave your body, you get out of the world, you do what you need to do. Because we have karma on multiple planes of existence, and astral bodies and different things. It's not just our physical body here that we're, dancing around with life. Everything else is happening on all those dimensions simultaneously. So it doesn't matter whether you're aware of it or not. This is happening as we speak. And a lot of people are, like I said, just lolly-daw in their bubble. And that bubble is going to get popped one way or another. For most people, it's a death, unfortunately, like physical death, right? And then that bubble's popped, and they leave their body, and they're like, oh, this sucks. I wish I would have did that. I wish I would have did that. I wish I would, And I'm here to do those things right now. I'm here to see those mountains, jump in those waterfalls, and love the most love I can, and have babies, and just live life. You know what I mean? That's what we're here to do. And a lot of people, I can see it every day, and it just frustrates me, because it's these self-limiting beliefs. I can see it like energetically on people, and it's frustrating to me, because we're basically settling, right? Whatever it is, that job, that lover, whatever it is, it's like, oh, I'm settling for this comfort thing, and it's all good. It's no judgment. It's just the universe always gives you what you want. So it turns into this thing of like, okay, bro, go ahead, have that job, have that lover, have that whatever it is, and it's like, it's only going to get you so far, and we are the ones we've been waiting for. We're the only one that can, change ourselves. That's it. And I don't care what the medium is. At the end of the day, I honestly don't. It's whatever gets you, that truth and transformation, because that's your personal truth, that experience, whatever that white light is, whatever that guru, whatever that teaching is for you. Awesome. If it's creating, expansive energy and making more love and positivity in your life, then awesome, keep doing it. That's what it is at the end of the day, and that's what we're all learning. Absolutely.
Obviously for me, I talk to a lot of people who do psychedelics quite a lot as well, even friends around me. And like we are on two very different, not levels, but like two different planes of existence. And it's like a lot of my friends have been like, oh, you got a psychedelic channel, man, come over, trip with us. But it's like, the trip is so like different. It's like
You're
I'll
merging.
take. Yeah, well, it's like I have like one like little bong hit, and I'm like, whoa, bro. I'm like, is this Jesus I'm seeing? It's a whole different reality for me now, and I'm got so much respect for people like yourself who are doing this journey sober as well, because I like the label of psychedelics. It makes it easy. It's like, okay, I want to go to this place. I'll just take this substance. It takes me there. But whereas if I want to do it sober, it's like, okay, well, today I got to meditate at this time. Tomorrow I have to do it as well. Tomorrow I have to do it as well. And it's this full immersion into it, which is extremely rewarding, I imagine, as well.
It's extremely rewarding. And I wouldn't call myself, sober. It's very, I live in the now, right? I have a very different reality than a lot of people. I'm just saying, I don't really prescribe to anything. What I like to do is, I call them tools on their tool belts, right? And whatever it might be, these medicines that you work with, there's a lot of people. So in, South America and all these things, tradition, I love just studying longevity, right? And when you look back, every culture has this. And at the end of the day, those were, ayahuasqueros, the people that were, the shaman, whatever you want to talk about it as, the guru, it's all the same thing. They were the, bringers of the light. They would tell the people, about these certain things. And I think we all have that, essence as wanting to do that, because we understand the, unpure side of ourselves. A lot of Christian things, I guess, would call it different things and talk about sinners and that kind of language. I don't use that language at all. I'm just saying that's what we're doing, like everybody's doing, and whether you're aware of it or not, it doesn't matter. It's just some people like myself, like go into the ashram and like meditate and chant and do things because I know consciously that I'm burning those karmic seeds just like you did. See what I mean? It's everybody's doing it. It's just how we all have so much karma. It's we can't even put a number on it. I would say 8 million births is like a light number. You know what I mean? That's like nothing. Yeah. We can't even fathom it, So I can feel that purification happening within me on these techniques and things that I do. But at the same time, I just want to say that I believe in the now, and I believe in creating reality with your thoughts and feelings, and things manifest in your reality for a reason. And if you don't accept them for whatever reason, then there's karma, or vice versa. You say no, and it creates another reality, right? So there's things that come up into my life, experiences that come up into my life. Almost all of them have been completely transcendental because I said yes. I wasn't the guy who like picked up this big, ounce of something or got this big and just did it all or whatever. 9 times out of the 10, these were experiences where people just came up to me and were like, hey, dude, this is for you. You want to do this? Or, hey, we're going to do this tonight. Do you want to come? Yes. Well, you know what I mean? It wasn't like me consciously saying like, you know what? Let's do this, guys, and controlling everything. And I just bring that up because that's like the ego winning the game, right? Trying to like, oh, I got to do this. And that's where I would say the word addiction comes into play, because a lot of people, I think, struggle with that, right? And to me, if I say the word, like if it's seeking you, if you can't control yourself, if you can't wake up in the morning, and do that thing, then yeah, you've crossed that boundary. You're addicted. It's all good. Call yourself out. But at the end of the day, if you are creating this in your reality for a reason and you need to learn whatever that lesson is, then a lot of people are basically doing that right now without knowing it, and they keep, pushing it away. That's exactly what happened in my life. Like even with psychedelics in the beginning, it came to me and I was like, no, yeah, this was when I was, let's see, 2000, it was 2009. That was the very first time. I'm just saying it was something because of my belief system. See what I'm saying? At the time, I was like, no, I can't do this, Sure. And it wasn't until I opened myself up. I just started meditating then and doing some things. But my point is, it's all about your belief systems. So if I wasn't in line with that, and the universe was saying like, hey, dude, just take this and you'll be good. I want to show you something. But I was trapped in that bubble. See what I mean? Saying like, no. This isn't cool, or whatever my belief system was, So it's fun looking back on those experiences, because it's what I call the projector. I can get into my little projector and like I can see the Robert who took that in 2009 and he's off somewhere else, and having some other reality with whatever. And I like to think about all these little infinite realities. You can play with it, and then tap into which one you want to be, because they're all happening simultaneously. And it's just exciting. And I choose this one right here where I am now, with the family, with this yoga, with this process that I'm doing, because out of every experience that I've had, the number one lesson, the number one thing that I was told was, bro, you need to do this sober. Like, just go sober. Like, what are you doing here? Like, why? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Just go sober, bro. Just like, hey, why? This is stupid. Get out of here. Like, very mindless things. And I was expecting all this woo-woo magic, like, stuff to happen. And it's like, bro, just get out of here. This is stupid. You need to go. Like, it was every single time. And it doesn't matter what method it was. And that's just me. That's my journey. And that's something that, because of whatever work that I've done, possibly, I don't know. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, that was the message that I got. And that's what I'm here to spread, because I think that's what we're all doing, is these are just tools on your tool belt, right? And it's just like, okay, cool. Use that one. Use, marijuana. Use this. Use whatever you need. Psilocybin. Use this. Use meditation as you need it as a tool if you're familiar with it. But a lot of people, basically, we get indoctrinated in a public school system. That's how I was raised, and all these beliefs and blah, blah, blah. So, I had to do a lot of deprogramming and unschooling to kind of just be open to this kind of stuff. And I did that because of my sincerity for the search of the soul, this light, because I had a taste of it and I wanted to completely expand on it more and more every day. And that's what I'm doing now. And as like I said, it's infinite. It's something that this awareness that we're talking about, it will never stop. It just will never stop.
Yeah. No, and as you were saying before, you have that voice that speaks to you. Everyone has that right or wrong. Like you can just feel it. You know if you're doing the right thing within yourself or if you're doing the wrong thing within yourself. No, it's like, I think also for me, I agree with it being like different tools on the belt, because I've done a lot of dream work in the past, and that itself is very revealing. I love dream work, and I'm finally getting back into it now.
Yes.
And obviously I've just started using this Astral light at work, which is light therapy.
Yes.
And that's absolutely blew my mind open what you can achieve on that thing. And I'm still learning meditation, because I've had a couple of like really good meditations. But this is the thing. It's like the intent behind it as well, because we keep saying this, I guess, but like, but it's true, because I'm very like, I want to blast off. That's like my mentality is like, let's blast off. But then when I'm like walking around in the car or like, driving or something like that, I like to be here. I like to be present. So, you
can't have both. That's for sure.
It's funny like that, it's funny. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean, 100%, and that's I said, that's our conditioning, because you want to blast off from something because of whatever point you're at, you're just not happy with. It's all good, and it's good. It's a good feeling to want to have. We all, like I'm saying, that's called human conditioning. Like I said, we are not this body, right? So it's like putting on a really tight shoe. It's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want like release from it. See what I'm saying? Everybody does. That's human conditioning. You can't get around birth, old age, disease, and death. That's our 4 parts of human conditioning, no matter how hard you try. What you can do, though, is realize that you're a spirit soul. You are not ever going to die. You are immortal. And this is very temporary. This is just a glimpse, a flash compared to what you've done before. So once you slowly perceive this reality, this truth, then you can, that pressure that you're talking about slowly goes away. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you're no longer kind of abiding, like you recognize you have a body. I'm not saying completely disregard it. I think a lot of people make that mistake in the beginning of this, spiritual awakening or whatever. It's very like, oh, ego, death, and all these things, and it's true. But at the end of the day, it's like those are very catchy words and all. It's wonderful, but you need your ego, you need your body, you need this suit, this vehicle. You need it, otherwise you would not be here. I guarantee you have very specific karma and things, and I can see it a little bit on your energy right now. I don't want to go into it on this podcast because it might be personal, but I'm saying it's very we all have specific things we need to do, and at the end of the day,
hey, if you want to go into it, I'm sure my viewers would enjoy some personal
it's just it's just fun stuff with people, like as far as like the tools of the tools belt things. So think about what I like to call the cosmic view. Like if you were to, I'll let you answer the question. If you take yourself out, like of your body into your cosmic view, and you look back out of all these births and all these things that you've done, you've had some sort of lineage, some sort of something that you were tapped into before. You can use words like Viking or like, hey, I was this or what. It's not like you don't have to get into like the exact past life or whatever, but you have some thread through all of this. Maybe you were like a Tibetan monk, a bunch of births, or maybe you were but what I think you were was a lot of like Merlin stuff, and you're tied to a lot of things that have to do with the like basic Atlantis. Think Atlantis, okay? And this thread that kind of comes through all of us, and then because Atlantean technology is available, it's like we're just channeling this information, like I said, and mankind is like slowly catching up to this. So what you're here to do is the same thing, because you can do this. You can get into these realms very easily without any like bad effects. So you can channel this technology and use it into your life, you know? So a lot of people like think about Nikola Tesla, right? Good example of this, right? That idea of him for creating his inventions thing didn't happen from like the intellect. It doesn't happen from your mind, like writing this down with a pencil, like, oh, here it is and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's beyond yourself. It's in what's called samadhi. It's a state that is beyond yourself, right? Einstein talked about it. All their notes talk about it. It's like, it's not like they were like, oh my God, pushing it. Like, oh, I got to invent this thing and I got to do it. And, you know, it's never going to happen that way. Never. That's the ego. That's the small self. That's the body. That's what I'm talking about. People are catering to that rather than their infinite self. See? And the more we can look through that veil, that lens of our infinite self, the more, you know, happier we're going to be, the more productive we're going to be, because that's where those answers are, into that intuition, into these guides. It's not coming from, you know, your college degree or whatever, you know, nothing against college or whatever. I'm just saying it's something that people are basically spending too much time in the intellect and not enough time in their soul and their spirit, whatever that work may look like. So whether it's meditation, you know, simple walks in nature, whatever, like we don't allow ourselves, you know, to enter that space. You know what I mean? Like think about the normal everyday life. Like nobody allows themselves to be that infinite self. We're just constantly abiding to this body, the personality, who we think we are, our job, our title, mother, father, whatever. All those roles are temporary. They mean nothing, absolutely nothing. So the more you can get into this cosmic view every day, whatever that looks like for you, whatever practice that is, the more you can understand what I'm talking about. And as far as where you picked up where you left off before, right? Oh, I was this. Oh, this happened. Oh, cool. I did all these things. Oh, awesome. Maybe boom. And then at the end of the day, I know I'm right because of the fact that you wouldn't even comprehend this stuff if you didn't have this before. Like if you weren't doing this before, if that makes sense. It's something that, to be honest, a lot of people, you know, simply can't even comprehend different dimensions and things because they haven't had as many births. Like the evolution of the soul is different, you know, it's different speeds. So it's something that a lot of people don't really get this stuff, and they're basically trapped in that box because it's scary to even think about it for them. It's a new thing, you know, and just the fact that you get it is proof that you're picking up where you left off. So the more you can do that, the more information you're going to receive. And it doesn't matter whether it's like the blue elves or these guides or whatever, they're just going to push you towards that. You see what I mean? They're going to push you towards that direction because they see you. Because when you enter that space, you're not this, you know, Jack, you know, handsome young man thing, you know. You're this other guy that's very infinite, and it's not this picture that you see right here, right? No, so that's what they see, and they're like, whoa, look at this dude. Why is he here? Dude, you just, what are you doing here? You should just go back where you got some work to do, you know, whatever that lesson is. A lot of it is just healing, right? They pick apart little things, they heal, they tweak a little things because they're just trying to do the same thing that we're all doing. It's just, like I said, most people are not doing it consciously. They're doing it very unconscious. Like these moments happen just serendipitously when they could be happening every day if you put yourself in the right setting in the right place, you know, to allow it to happen.
Right. Yes, for sure. The intuition, like the relationship with our intuition, even the most intellectual people, you know, when, as you're saying, like you write down a math principle on a board, you don't all of a sudden experience the math in your mind coming to form, and then you're like, there's the answer. It's like you write it down, you look at it, and all of a sudden, from seemingly nowhere comes this answer, the solution. Then you write it down. Then you take a step back and you look and you're like, oh, that actually works. It's not, that's some deeper part of you communicating with you. That is the stuff I do need to know more about. And that's the message that seems to be coming through to me right now, is that, because I got all these people from my workplace as well, of course, who are more in touch with this side of things. Whereas for me, I think like the allure of blasting off was also the stuff you learn from it. I think I really much enjoyed like the whole integration. In fact, for me, wasn't so much to improve happiness as much as it was to like have this trip, learn this stuff, write it down. What does it mean? Do some research. Does that make sense? This makes sense. Pull it together, and then when I feel like I'd have an answer, go back in, have that answer shattered.
I love it. I did
then,
the same thing.
Yeah, that constant you never get this definite answer, but it's fun. It's really fun just to seemingly at least learn more. But I know there's a lot of stuff which I should pick your question as well pick your mind about before I lose time. Which is like what these beings? It's these beings that we're meeting. Like, what the heck are they? Because the last time I went into this place, it was really just like drilling into me, like they are me. And then while I was like writing down these notes, I abbreviated the machine elves, and of course it was ME or me. And I was like, oh, that's a little tricky note.
That's a good one.
It's always it's like these. So I don't know. I'm kind of like this.
No, it's good. It's good. So I love this. Like I said, you remember exactly where. So this is where you need some sort of like guide, right? And for me, it was yoga, because this is all in scripture. This is all there. It's written. It's easy. It's just a matter of how we interpret it, right? So it's just our language and whatever. I don't have to spit Sanskrit at you or anything, get all Ayurvedic or anything like that, because it would just mean nothing to you. You know what I mean? We have to use a vocabulary that we can both understand and translate. And I want to talk about that, because it's just whatever, I like to use the word filter. It's whatever filter you're putting on reality. A lot of people use astrology, right? Like, oh, you're a Taurus, and then they have all these made up things in their brain of who you should be and shouldn't be and blah, 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 right? So it's the same thing. So whatever your belief system is that filter. For me, luckily I wasn't raised with any dogmatic anything, so I had a very open experience growing up. But basically what we're talking about is these different dimensions, right? And without getting complicated, we can talk about just like 11 dimensions, because those are really the only important ones. We are in the third physical dimension, because that's where time and space and everything is. These different beings are what I like to call celestial beings, meaning they're made of pure light, meaning they don't have the covering that we do. We have a meat suit, we have a body that's covering our light, our soul, right? So the funny part is, the answer why they're saying me and everything is because you are the universe. You are God. You are all these things that are, you are the source. You are creating it. So it's not outside yourself. I think that's the biggest lesson that has to be experienced, that you can't even say to anybody. It's all of this stuff is not happening outside of you. It's happening within you. So like I said, the more, like, the float tank's a great thing, because finally somebody was like, cool, let's just lay in a box and do it. And all of a sudden it's cool, when really yogis just meditate in caves. It's the same exact thing, right? So whatever you can do to get those distractions out of your life, this is going to happen to you. I guarantee you, because we are not that human body. We are not that 3D suit. We are the infinite being that's on all dimensions. So that's the thing, is we are just have this veil, this filter that's over us right now, because of our previous karma and our things that we've done in the past, and whatever choices we needed to learn into this life. And then we can talk about different things like Syrians, Palladians. This is what I like to talk about, because that's the real energies that are actually like affecting us on Earth. Because when you think of it like 3D, all the higher dimensions control the lower dimensions, not control like everything, but they have effect on us, and same with below. So it's not like we can go up to the Palladian world from here and shoot them or whatever. But if you blow up the Earth, like if a nuclear explosion happens on the Earth, they're going to feel it too. See what I mean? Like, this ripples through all the dimensions. See what I'm saying? So you have to think about this as far as you, and then it just comes down to your method as far as how long you get to stay, or how far you get to go into these fields, into these alternate dimensions. So for me, I don't want to get too carried away in this conversation, because the 11 is where it's really only important. Getting too far past that is just not worth anybody's time. It's just too much intellectual stuff. And but it's like I said, whatever serves you, whatever brings you more information and productivity into your life. Because, for example, with me, I'm tied to some Palladian energy, and I'm learning from Palladians that are doing very specific things with technology. Like you've seen before the podcast, like I got some things to figure out still with technology. And I was living off the grid in Alaska, no cell phone, no meditating every day, doing the things, living as pure as, and I'm like just coming into this digital world. For me, it feels new, but it's been like 3 years now. It's just such a big learning curve for me. I'm just bringing an example of how I can channel in this information for me to help in this digital age to really understand this stuff and communicate. I'm not like going to school and learning some computer class, although I could do that. You know what I mean? I understand that's a method, but for me, the way that I look at it is you're either tapped into that intuition, You're either doing this through that intuitive voice that's guiding you every day, or this, small self, this intellectual voice that's like, oh, you should just, go to the bathroom and all these very small things. But no one's, like I said, taking the time to tap into that intuition, to tap into that higher self every day. I'm talking about every day. You need to give yourself the time to tap into that space so you can come back here to planet Earth and be like, okay, this is what I got to do today. This is what I need to learn. Okay, this lesson, there's different things happening simultaneously, and, other dimensions as well, because you got to understand, just the more laws you can understand, the more clarity you're going to have with these space, right? With these alternate worlds. So for me, if you just think about the 3 planes of existence, everything comes back to Holy Trinity, right? So the causal plane is controlling just pure idea, pure just white light, and then it has to go through the astral plane, which is like the middle, and then before it hits the physical world. So all 3 of those things are happening simultaneously. And when we dream, you're getting into what's your astral body. And again, this is not the physical, Jack here, or me, Robert, with like a beard and dreadlocks. It's very different. And I've had so many dream experiences where it's funny. I even look into a mirror, lucid dreaming, and it's like, oh, it's not this. And I like freak out, and I like grab my beard and grab my hair in my sleep and wake myself up. I'm like, oh, it's right. It's like, and then it all catches up. So it all syncs together, and all realities there. So the thing is, it's to be honest, it's a lot of prerequisites. Like for me, I spend a lot of time with like pure water, clean foods, things to really purify my temple, things that I can do, practices to purify myself every day, so I can have more clarity and higher consciousness in these alternate reality, in these spaces, because it's something that we were all doing, like I said, unconsciously. But I'm trying to really just get the most out of it, because I understand that this human life is very temporary, dude. It's like we got to do a lot of things right now, what we call inner work, and you have like the body itself is crumbling, so the more you can really channel your spirit and get into that practice, activate your Merkaba. We can talk about different ways to do that, all that fun stuff. That's what we're doing right now. This light, this temple is the real technology. Like when you mentioned VR, it cracked me up, because that's where like the conspiracy theory dude flicks off in me, because all this stuff we're talking about, people are using it for money and greed and, lower vibrational stuff, and I'm not saying that that's lower vibration. What I'm saying is you can do this synthetically. You can do all this stuff we're talking about synthetically through goggles or whatever, or you can close your eyes and go meditate, or go barefoot in the woods, or just, you can do it. This human form is all you need. Everything you need is already within you. A lot of people just are so addicted to the mind that it's like, just wants to complicate it, right? Like, no, it's basically too simple for people to understand. And that's like all my work is like trying to put creative things into people's eyes that they can understand, that's actually going to catch their attention. Because if I just film myself meditating all day, that's not going to get any views on YouTube. You know what I mean? It's like I gotta play the game. I gotta get in here and really do it, because if I don't, like I said, it's something that I feel this shift, I feel this ascension happening, and I just want to like throw a ladder down from the boat and just like, come on, let's do this. And I, like I said, I'm not settling for anything less. It's great, because this is just exciting, because I can see it happening on the individual scale in people, and then this greater, universal scale, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can't, unfortunately, like, there's a part of us that like needs to help the other people.
Yes.
Because it's like you can't ascend without doing that, in a sense, or at least trying, because they are you. It's like if you do just brush them aside and you're like, okay, I'm going to escape to myself and ascend without them, you're actually just that mentality is there. I'm escaping. Whereas if you're like, no, I'm doing this, like I'm reaching a higher place, but I ain't leaving you guys. I love you guys. I'm bringing you guys with me. You become love. You become all those positive things. But before I forget, I really wanted to ask you about the Pleiadian thing, because the Pleiadian thing is something which I feel like I've been I haven't mentioned it on my channel, because I don't know what my viewership, like what my viewers are kind of like, how open minded they are, sort of thing. But
I guess I get you.
Yeah, but
it's
like,
all good.
I want to like, screw it. Let's dive in. And
it's just different. It's different. I mean, for me, it's all the same, because like I said, we are the physical version of that. Like we have, okay, for your viewers, for everybody to understand this, my viewers do, it's something that you have source energy, right? And then that's where we came from. And then here's planet Earth over here. You didn't go just from source energy straight to planet Earth. It didn't work like that. You went, the Milky Way is not all that's out there. There's other galaxies. There's so many things happening. We are just our perception right now in 3D is on this planet Earth right here, which is awesome. But what I'm talking about is the soul, or started here in source. Now there's other ones. Let's say Pleiades. That's just a star cluster, right? Sirius. It's just a star cluster. That's all it is. So without getting into aliens and all that kind of talk, all you have to do is think about how the source energy started here, and you went to other star clusters, other galaxies, other things you did before you came here to Earth. Otherwise, again, you wouldn't be able to comprehend this stuff. So a lot of this information is channeled down from other dimensions into the third reality. So this has happened through scripture. This has happened through time and yoga. It's called the Yuga system. It's a 24,000 year cycle. We're just remembering. That's what I love to say to you. This is nothing new here. The only thing that's new is the vocabulary. Like quantum physics, like I said, is the best vocabulary we can use, quote unquote, scientifically. But that still doesn't even come close to actually comprehending what we're doing right now. So you're 100% right. The Pleiadian thing. So we could get specific and say they live on the seventh dimension, and you're doing this. And if you channel, and you do a specific breath work, then you can enter that state and talk to them and then come down, all that fun stuff. But the way that I look at it, it's not really that, as it is more of that lineage that I'm talking about, like that you're tied to, that you have access to based on your karma. Yeah.
The reason I'm interested is just because, like, in not my last video, I think it was the one before that, I was talking about how, I had a trip basically, and it kind of was a little bit more described in my weed trip, but it was actually back from when I did acid and mushrooms. I had this experience where it was like saying that once we die, we go to source light, and then that source light is actually channeled through to the starlight, and the starlight is then channeled out through to us.
Yes.
And so obviously did some research, and it's like, oh yeah, our mind is heavily influenced obviously by the electromagnetic energy from the stars. This electromagnetic energy is spread throughout the entire universe, and like you were literally linked with the cosmos through this energy. So then I started listening to some psytrance music, which is actually by these guys called the Pleiadians, and and like they became my favorite artists. And then next thing, everyone starts mentioning Pleiadians, and Pleiadians just comes up a lot from this. And I ended up YouTubing it, and like I just related to the message given by it, And a lot of people who might read this be like, okay, well, obviously you looked it up, and you can like relate anything to anything. But for me, I think that what was happening is that my sensory experience and my like this message of the Pleiadians unfolding in my sober experience is like something like a voice, like the intuition kind of driving me this way to like unveil something. So that's why I'm asking, because I actually haven't done 100%. Research.
100%. Well, so for me, the best language I can use is like your chakra system. All right. So I don't know if you understand a little bit, but basically what you're doing is you're opening your chakras up, right? A lot of people are trapped in lower chakras, but because of your experiences, because of that blasting off that you're talking about is exactly that. You go through all the chakras, you're literally going out of the crown chakra, and you're there, So that's what we're talking about. The Pleiadians aren't bound to 3D, so they are in those other dimensions. So you have to literally blast through your crown in order to even communicate and do that. So the reason why I bring that up is because that's what I mean by prerequisites. A lot of people have to have that kundalini, have that opening in order to access this. And then it's like the doorways are open, and then information can come through. So then it's like the karma thing is the only word I can use, because it's not like, we all have some starting point. Like you could have went to Pleiades 10 times or whatever before you came to Earth. So you might just have better connections there. It's like your homies. It's like, hey, it's Joe again. I'm here to, I could hang out, and that's what your tie is based on whatever you need in this specific life. And what's funny is if you think about, I've felt this so many times, like you're being watched, right? Like there's something like watching you, right? We don't have to get too specific, but just think about how that's basically Pleiades in their perspective looking at you, right? And they're like, okay, Jack's going to do this cool thing. We sent him this gift. He's going to open it up. Here he comes. They're just like waiting for you. They see that other side of the veil. They see it, right? They implanted it before you were even born, before the contract even began with your soul. And it's right there. And they wiped out your memory. They did all that stuff because you wouldn't have that experience. They did all of this. And they're just waiting for you. And you might not even open up the gift. They could be waiting lifetimes or whatever. Who knows? The point is that gift is there. See, the universe is always sending us these messages. Always. Whether it's numbers, whatever filter you're using to interpret them, they're always sending us them. So that's like I said, so are you using that intellect, that thing that's keeping you in lower vibration, or are you using that intuition that tapping into that higher self through this, crown chakra that I'm talking about. And a lot of people that I see, energetically, especially they don't have an open crown chakra. They're just very blocked up, basically. So it's hard for them to even, have that experience. So some people are born naturally into it. Some people, there's so many different things. But basically, like I said, you've opened yourself up to this. So now it's like the doorway is just open rather than being shut all the time. And it's like you don't even need to knock anymore because that information's right there. All you have to do is pick up the pen and be like, okay, dudes, what do I do? Like, help me out here. So that's all you have to do. That's it. Get yourself out of the way. See, that's all you're doing, right? The more you can, get rid of those programs and get rid of who you think you are and start waking up to your infinite self. That's what they're doing. That's what they're showing you. That's what that package is. It's like, okay, bro, just keep riding your bike. We'll be waiting for you over here. Whatever that message is. It could be anything. I don't know. I'm not you. But I can guarantee you it's very specific for you and you only. And when you do that, that's what creates that like aha moment where you're just like, yes, I get it. And what's funny is the reason why I cracked up, it might be as simple to the small self as the ME, right? That's the thing is like, it's something as simple as that will just blow your mind. Just that two letters. I mean, I have so many stories in my apartment where I literally just wrote on the walls and stuff, it got into these so high vibrational states where it's just like anything goes, all of a sudden you wake up the next day and it's just like, oh my God, what happened here? Like, whoa, that's the thing is you're just sucking right back. You're just right back into this thing. And it's very, small. It's very limiting. So you can't even try to, interpret that because you have to be in that same filter, that same lens, And the thing is, like I said, it's funny because everyone has just their own vehicle, whatever that might be. And it's great because we're all doing that right now. And it's fun just to kind of see it happen and slowly the chains are being lifted because this is, everyone in their human right has access to this. It's just it's being held back for a long time, and it's only until recently, I think, where it's finally because of the internet, because of many things, it's blowing up, in a good way, very very good way.
Oh, for sure, dude. Oh man, I'm loving this convo. This is this is a good one for me.
It's fun, dude. Yeah, it's fun. I can see so much with you. You're doing so many cool things. It's great. You, like I said, whether it's the float tank, obviously, like I can even tell you right now that your higher self was doing this, and it's like you're picking up on the message. It's up to us, right, the individual, to be like, okay, I want more. I saw this message, I took action, and then I did it, I integrated it, and I'm ready for more. And other people are like, oh shit, dude, that was too much. I need to just chill out for like a long time, and that's the integration. And I think a lot of people are basically skipping that step, and it's just like they want that blast off and everything, which is cool. It's all good. And you're going to get blasted off, I guarantee you, no problem, because that's in your karmic, DNA. You have to have that experience for you to realize that you're not this body. And then the sudden you're going to be, boom, back in it. I don't know if you're familiar with Ram Dass and, that lineage, or like Neem Karoli Baba, if you read Be Here Now or any of that stuff, have you?
I haven't read it, but I know those guys. I know some of their teachings.
I'm just saying that's a good just example with those stories as far as like the guru taking high doses and having no experiences and different things, right? So you just think of it as dimensions and him having that perception, having their 24/7, right? Whereas us, it's this very much like the onion, and we have all these layers, these programs that we still need to work on, whatever that might be. So, like I said, it's like, are you doing this consciously? A lot of people are not letting themselves access these other dimensions, these higher consciousness. They're just not letting themselves. So it's all good. It's no judgment. It's just at the end of the day, it's going to catch up with you. And I've had that experience where I've left my body completely, not at my own will, where it's just taken away from you. And that was the universe showing me like, bro, you need to just do some work. Otherwise, this is going to happen. You see what I mean? You need to do this. And otherwise, this is going to be it, and that's all you get. So I understand that, and that's why I'm taking action now more than ever, because I can see that right now. I can see these things that I need to do in this life, and it's like precious, precious moments for me, because I get it. I see this whole timeline. It's like, okay, here's what you can do, or if you do this, you're going to end up over here, And it's no judgment. It's just like, I'd want this one over here, man. I want this path. I see it. It's beautiful. It's golden. This vision. It's just so beautiful. I see it, and that's what I'm creating. Some people like to call it in the new earth. I don't like to get too new agey and stuff, but there's a lot of vocabulary thrown around, but it's like called the new earth. It's like this new ascension that we're, anchoring in right now. Every thought, every feeling, every action that you do, ripples out into the universe. So I understand that. Just like when you said no to your homies, dosing up at the party or whatever, it's the same thing, because you understand that. It's like you understand what you're getting into with this. I like to call it karmic debt. It's like a dance, It could be positive, it could be uplifting, but you're merging. That's what I said earlier. It's like you merge yourself, and then things are transferred both ways. And you got to be very, dude, I've done so much work to filter out other people's garbage, that I mistakenly took on, at the time, because I was just ignorant, and I opened myself to things, and things transferred. And at the time, looking back, very intense trips, but I can see what they were working on. They're individuals, we're just projecting those images onto each other, right? So I think a lot of people are doing stuff they just don't understand the potential as far as what transfers, information and karma transfers through these states. So whether it's a ceremony, whether it's a little thing, a party, whatever, anything, even cannabis, whatever, it's like you got to understand that that's an exchange. Again, it's not a fear-based anything. That could be beautiful. Like I said, shaman does that consciously, right? They take on the energy. They see the people. They're like, oh, you know what? You got to look at this. It's stored right here in your shoulder. You should check this out, bro. You haven't seen this since you were 3 years old. You should look at this, It's really bringing that stuff out of you. So for me, the way I look at it is we are all our own shaman. We are all, have that ability to us. We are all our own psychic, and all these questions that we all have can be answered from within. It's just a matter of that filter, whatever that is, whatever that practice, how many tools you have on your tool belt sort of thing. For me, I like to have, those tools to go to when I need them for certain, and I've used them, oh my gosh, saved my life countless times. Meditation, affirmations, different things, especially because, like I said, they're tools to tap into these frequencies. I have a lot of like frequency music on my channel and stuff now too, because music, just something as simple as music, oh my gosh, will teleport you into these dimensions, right? That's why the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, all the classics, whatever, they knew all this stuff, It's like they were trying to articulate it, and that's where you get into your creativity. That's what we're doing right now. We're switching the gear from that consumer into the creator. So that's what everybody's doing, right? Are you the sheep or are you the shepherd? That's what you're doing. You're getting rid of those impurities. You're like, no, I'm tired of this. I am the creator. I am the shepherd. I'm doing this, That's what's happening right now.
This is this global wake up. That's like what we're talking about with the technology before. It's like that's going to give people a lot more independent power, because as that evolves, all of a sudden you're paying like $100 or, whatever the equivalent is in the future for like just getting yourself some like games, and you got yourself a $20 million mansion, and you can live there wherever you want. You can walk out, you can say hello to your neighbors. Like, this is a virtual reality that can exist for you. So material goods themselves will definitely lose value as well. It's like all these things and all this like giving power to other people, all of these things are diminishing. We're realizing our own independent selves, the strength we have within ourselves. And this is liberating. This is, in fact, one of the reasons why people are so scared to integrate the psychedelic experience, is because psychedelic experience, sorry. I'm so used to saying that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's because it's so different to how we're living at the moment, but it's so much more beautiful, and we're afraid of that beauty. It's like, for mine, it was really like saying you can have anything you want, but I didn't take that as like this material. Oh yeah, I want this excellent car and I want all the babes in the world. You know what I mean? It was so simple when it was like you can have anything you want. I realized what I wanted, and it was like I just want to get healthy right now. That was the first thing I said. Started getting healthy immediately, and it was like, okay, what job do you want? I was like, honestly, I love making movies. I think I just want to start filming some stuff. TripWhip came up, it's just like all of a sudden I'm using the things I want to do, and it's very scary to do because we're conditioned to put so much pressure on these things and to give other people power, so that we're constantly judging and assessing ourselves in the eyes of other people. How do we look to these people out there? They don't matter. We're realizing what matters is your own judgment about yourself. This is the global wake up of just being independent.
That's why I'm so big on environment, when you're talking about that, because like I've been in certain situations, doesn't matter what the dose or anything is, and it's like, you're with your homies, you're doing your thing, but then other people come into the space, right? I don't know if you've been in the public situations or not, but I've definitely done things in the public where you feel other people's energy come onto you. See what I'm saying? It's all, like I said, you're opening yourself up. So for me, like when the people, Terrence McKenna, all these types of talk about set and setting and blah, 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 because it's powerful. For me, at the end of the day, that's been the most powerful thing, because because, like I said, when I go, Denali, when I live in these wild places in Alaska, or I live in Hawaii now in the jungle, I can feel that energy. Like I can tap into that energy like effortlessly compared to being in the city. You know what I mean? And that's where I can feel this, process, like this potential is all kind of our neutral state. It's just a lot of people are, have those, whatever it is, your job or whatever that's keeping you so comfortable, that's not letting you access this space. So that's kind of how I look at it. That's why I want to have the retreat center, because then I can, just show people, hey, all you have to do is have this experience and meditate and eat some clean food and you're going to be good. And there you go, sort of thing, rather than, something that happens overnight. You have to have that experiential learning, like we talked about in the beginning. You can talk about it with the books and learn about it, but you really have to have that experience at the end of the day.
Yeah, you do. And like, I know now that if I start reading some books, like even what I learned from that's going to be different because of my foundation of my experience. You know, like it is a communication with the intuition, probably, when you your experience of the outside world. Because like what you learn from it's like the fact that you can read the pages of something written by another person and that idea can be transferred from that book into you. It's like it's incredible, and clearly there is a strong filtering that goes on there. So
big time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean by the higher self, and that intuition, though, too, like that information you can tap into and then take action on. That's kind of the recipe. It's like you can get this information. I get it in my meditation practice, and it's like, okay, I know what I need to do. And when I take action, that's when more information comes in. And this has happened, like, for example, with relationships. Like, right, I kept creating these same relationships to learn this lesson, and I'm just so stubborn that I wasn't able to learn that lesson. And it wasn't until I finally went through that lesson to where I stopped creating the same person, and then there you go, this new person came into my life. You know what I mean? So these packages can be these messages, these gifts from the universe can be in all different sorts of ways. It's just I'm certified in what's called Raja Yoga or Kriya Yoga. It's just about taking action. It just means action. So that's the thing we have to remember at the end of the day, is you have to take action on this stuff. Otherwise, it's like the voice, if you don't use it, you lose it, sort of thing, And that's basically what's happening, is a lot of people have completely lost that intuition, and they're going through the drive-through or whatever, just like I was, whatever comfort zone thing. Not that going through the drive-through is wrong. I'm just saying I was doing a lot of unconscious things, like completely zombie mode, just living unconscious at all. And now the awareness, I was like you, I don't know if it's still around, but it was called Arrowwood. There was this website called Arrowwood where...
I know Arrowwood,
Yeah, cool. That was before YouTube and everything. I really did myself. It's great because that's what we did. We go on Arrowwood. I'd look up all kinds of fun stuff. There was a few other websites too I got into where there were certain things that I could take that were just completely legal, that were amazing, that were helping me get into lucid dreaming, and that were very natural, so I got into a lot of other things that way too. So that full progression is very important for people, because like I said, those tools on the tool belt, I'm so thankful, because you can access these things and have the ability to do that at any time. Whereas a lot of people, it's like a very jarring experience, even like cannabis, right? One little puff or whatever, they're like, they're blown away, which is great, but you can navigate that realm. You can take that as a wave and ride it like a surfer, or it just pummels, the ocean crashes you and you start, that's where the people start crowing up in the ball in the corner saying, and I've been there, we've all been there. I'm just saying that's you resisting, right? It's only when you resist is where the suffering happens. So that's why I just talk about, let go, surrender, repeat. That's my mantra. You just gotta let go, surrender, repeat, dude. That's it. That is it. And these waves, it'll just keep happening. You just ride in that surfboard. You can always pick up the board, hop back. It's never ending. I can't tell you how many times I've been there. And I've also been like the referee for friends a lot, when they want to trip and have fun. And I've always loved that, because I'm the guy that I'm there with them. And this is, I don't really need the physical thing, although it's fun and it's amazing. There's just so many avenues to life now, and I think a lot of people, like I said, it's something that they're just settling for at the end of the day. And for me, I'm just not afraid. I'm in my heart, I'm full of courage to just take it to that level, because you blast that door open with love, and it's just light. That's it. We're just pure light, baby. You're just shining. That's it. Whatever you see there, it's just like boom, like a vampire. It's just, you can't handle it. It just can't. I'm serious. I've seen it so many times, and I believe in it. And now I've helped other people have that same experience, and it's amazing. I can tell you, that's why I said we're all like doing that as a collective right now.
It's the truth, man. Like I can't remember, I think it was Terence McKenna said something like, jumping off the cliff or jumping into the abyss, you imagine there's this bed of nails, but you find out it's just a big comfortable pillow waiting for you, something like that. But exactly. No, I have a friend who who was that guy who would smoke one puff of weed in the beginning and would like freak out. And which is funny because like it's not me, but like I get way high off of weed now. But
it's all good.
When my friend was doing it, he was like he I don't know, he would just really resist it, entirely resist it, become afraid. He was seeing going to his GP and doctors saying, does he have mental damage from this weed? And then finally, like I think we started having some more conversations, and this is the early days, so I was like just thinking to myself, bro, just let go. But I had no idea actually how the reason why he had so much resistance was because the other side was something really incredible waiting for him. He ended up letting go, and he's like living through like parallel universes and past life experiences, and he's just constant channel, which I'm learning from. He's like, yo, just had astral projection last night, you know, and he's like, I'm loving it. He's loving it now, and he never did. He was afraid of it before. It's like that, and for myself, you know, it's not just in these ethereal realms where this is the case. It's obviously like going after these things that you're passionate about.
It started here, like usually 1 through 7. That's our program. I mean, that stuff wasn't born into us. You know what I mean? Ignorance, hate, fear. That wasn't born. That was something learned. So that's what they're showing you. Whatever it is, the elves, whatever, doesn't matter. That's what they're showing you. Hey, just address this and get through this, and here you go. And that's why the only way out is through. You have to confront that. That's why at the end of the day, all you can do is let go, because the other option, no matter how hard you try, you're still going to hit that wall. It's it. Yeah. It's like I said, with whether it's lovers, whatever, I literally had the same lesson recreated in a different human being sent to me for the same exact lesson. And this is going to happen in many different avenues of your life until you really get that lesson. And you could take that even as far as like a tumor or whatever. It's like this package, this gift, this thing that's sent to you that you really need to understand. Like we talked about earlier with the causal, the astral, and the physical. That had to start at the causal, get through the astral before it manifested as a tumor or whatever it is in the physical. So a lot of people are just addressing the physical and not going all the way to the source and clearing it out of all three, the emotional, spiritual, and physical realms. That's what we're missing here. Right, like here in America, it's very West. You know, we just want drugs and things and bad food, whatever. It's perpetuating the problem. So it's only until recently where this reinsurgence of like people addressing their emotions and things is actually being brought up. A lot of people with mental disabilities, whether they're homeless or whatever, it's a very curable thing. It's very easy. It's very, like I said, it's human conditioning. We're all experiencing some level of it. So I don't think of it as something that's happening, quote unquote, to you. It's just like, what are you doing about it? That's the question you ask.
Right. Yeah, it's like because the reason why we enjoy being comfortable is if we step out of that zone, we do have to face these things.
Exactly.
I noticed in my life, it was like I had friends, and I was in a negative headspace, and then I pushed them aside, thinking, I was like, I don't like this friend. I don't like this friend. Met some new friends, and they seemed all different and all brand new, and I was sparkly new toys sort of thing. They were the exact same people. It was the exact same energy, exact same people. It's like, I've got to deal with it. And when I did, they turned out like when I did deal with it, they were awesome people, and I got back.
But what'd you do? What'd you do exactly?
It was just it actually wasn't an external thing. I think it was that for instance, I kept my thoughts to myself. Like I didn't trust them with the fact that I could be open and honest around them.
Okay, so you kept your thoughts to yourself.
Yeah, kept my thoughts to myself. It wasn't like, it was mostly that. I'd probably put them down as well unconsciously if I had to guess.
Okay.
But most importantly, I felt like I was being put down by them. Then it was like, okay, trust it. I don't know where it came from, but I was like, I just started saying all the stuff that was on my mind and like all of this sort of stuff, which I never thought I could have that sort of relationship with them. Turns out I can. Turns out they're tripping as well. Turns out they're having these like dreams at night, which are insane. And we're becoming like super excellent friends. So it's wicked in that way. It transforms. But it's the way it goes. It's like this vision, this beautiful thing that you see, which you can either get blasted off to or work your way towards. That is at the end of the goal of this. A lot of work. It's like that's why we get hooked to blasting off, because you don't have to do the work to get there. But it is. It's growth. It's like you're going to be put through tests. I'm feeling it right now. You get through tests, and what that test is, it's fear and it's doubt. That's what it usually always is. Exactly. But the best way to resolve that is through action. You take action, 100%. You overcome it. You're like, because you get to a point where you're like, oh crap, I don't think I can do it, and then you do. And that level of fear that had a grasp on you, let's go, and it's gone. Yeah. And then you work through the next thing, so on and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like, the word I was looking for in you was just inner work. Like you were doing your inner work. You know what I mean? Like what you did was you were speaking your truth. You were living like in that fear and doubt that you were talking about. And that was manifesting out and circulating those friendships at that same vibration into you. You didn't like it. You work on yourself. You're like, okay, I'm going to speak my truth. That's your throat chakra. You upgrade your throat chakra. You start working on yourself, right? All of a sudden, things change. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like we're all reflection, right? It's all mirrors, Yeah. And so the more you can work on yourself, that was for me too, dude. It's like I was extremely frustrated at the world in the beginning. I was so angry because I understood all this stuff, and I was very upset and basically had to learn how to channel that energy within. And that's how I showed meditation. So that was my sincere question. That's where the inner voice started awakening. It's like, okay, what do I do? And it was just meditate, and that was, slowly turned into what I do now, which is like, the Raja Yoga, but it's something like, that's something that I'm just in tune with. So whatever works for you is great. I'm just saying a lot of people are just missing that step, whatever it is, So it's just important to think about, for me, just how can you take the time to really get that practice, whatever that looks like for you, because that's really your method for, higher consciousness and just learning and productivity or whatever. Like the float tanks, you probably get access to the float tanks and stuff. The more you can get in there, that's the easiest one because it kind of forces you. A lot of people don't want to like sit up straight and do the meditation stuff. So if you just force yourself to do it like that, you're going to have that transcendental experience, which is nice, as people are basically fidgety and stuff a lot, they're just moving and things. So the more you can kind of relax and get your senses out of the way, the easier it is to kind of enter this stuff. And it's only until those thoughts go away, to where these, new ideas and new things happen. So that's kind of how I look at it. How can you do this consciously? And like I said, you're already doing it. It's just, how can we get ourselves out of the way more and more? Because that's all I've been doing. I'm just a channel for this information to come through. That's it. I didn't create, I didn't reinvent. There's nothing new here. And the only thing that I'm working on is, like I said, how can I package this information in a way that people can understand